Here it is, folks. We now come to the big one. EnterTRAINment. No, not that EnterTRAINment in Cincinnati, Ohio. This EnterTRAINment. This EnterTRAINment is located right inside the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. Now I wanted to preface this video by asking one question. What is a train exhibit doing here in a shopping mall? Well, I'm glad you asked. Elliot Feinberg, the owner of the layout, decided to have his train exhibit be located in the largest shopping mall in the country because it has never been done before. And he had one goal in mind: to expose the joy of toy trains or model railroading to everyone out there and to show them what they truly mean. That is what Elliot did when he created the EnterTRAINment exhibit. Before we get to EnterTRAINment, let's talk briefly about the Mall of America first. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you knew what the Mall of America is. It's no ordinary mall, it's the largest shopping mall in the United States. The mall measured 5,006,000 square feet, up to a total of over 500 stores, 60 restaurants, and several entertainment centers. But the main star attraction of the Mall of America is a theme park smack dab in the middle of the building called Camp Snoopy, later rethemed to the park of MOA in 2006, and now known as Nickelodeon Universe since 2008. Unlike most of the Camp Snoopies that we had seen at Cedar Fair parks, this Camp Snoopy stood out for being the biggest of its kind. Not only Mall of America is the largest shopping mall ever built, but they also had the largest indoor amusement park ever. It was huge, and it was an incredible sight. There's a roller coaster, a log flume, a carousel, a train ride, a truck ride, a Red Baron ride, a Ferris wheel, and many other rides. There is even a cool Lego exhibit from when the mall first opened. Now with that out of the way, let's go to EnterTRAINment and have a look at the train exhibit. EnterTRAINment is a large layout exhibit set in a 2,000 square foot room where guests come over to see the trains running in the model landscape. It was designed by Elliot Feinberg. With his team of 20 model railroad enthusiasts from the Twin Cities, they're going to build the layout for him. Construction of the layout started in June of 1992, around the same time that Mall of America opened its doors. Then after over a year of layout building, it was opened to the public in August of 1993. The layout had costed $250,000 to build, and it's a massive project. EnterTRAINment opened 11 hours and 6 days a week, and on Sunday, it opened 8 hours. Elliot hired 3 employees to work there. One sells tickets and souvenirs from a gift shop. The other, dressed up as a railway conductor, punches tickets for visitors to enter, and the other guy was Elliot's wingman, who helps him reload the accessories, fix the trains or wiring of the layout, or speaks to customers about their day at EnterTRAINment. It was always busy there. Originally, plexiglass was going to be put up around the perimeters of the layout to prevent anyone from touching. But because Elliot wanted his grand opening to be low-key and visitor-friendly, he never got around to do that. And it made the curious and excitable little kids wanting to touch the layout that goes against EnterTRAINment's policies and rules. EnterTRAINment really needs to put up all the plexiglass to prevent this from happening, otherwise the kids might ruin the layout and it'll be considered a violation to the exhibit's etiquette. Seriously. The layout is divided into 3 sections. Both the east and west sections were built up against the walls, and the center section is built in the middle of the room as a peninsula, where trains can cross over bridges from one section of the layout to another. This tripartite layout had 12 independent loops of track, all were obviously O-gauge, and over 150 turnout switches were installed. All of the track was Gargrave's track that stretched about 1.5 miles, and the wiring stretched about 15 miles across the layout. There was a common myth among some model railroaders about Gargrave's track. They say that the track wears out the locomotive's wheels and roller bearings. Just like Elliot's response to it, I don't buy it either. In his opinion, it was the electrical contact between the wheels and track, which can be fairly difficult. Without taking good care of your trains, you'll have weak contact between the wheels and rails. either that the contact will suffer from sudden arc discharges or gradually slow down until they stop. That is why some serious maintenance to the layout is very important. Curtis switches were used instead of Ross custom switches. While they're a tad more expensive, they do operate really nicely. The layout had 9 levels. The lowest level was measured 4 feet off the floor, and the highest level is measured about 90 inches. Durabond plaster with metal lath is used to build the mountains. The benchwork underneath the layout is made out of steel and fire-resistant wood. A sprinkler system helps protect the layout from the short circuits of the wires in case of emergency. All levels of the layout were numbered into hundreds, starting from 100 on the lowest level and then all the way up to about 900 on the very top level. Why count the layout levels into hundreds instead of single-digit numbers like 1, 2, 3, or 4? Because those were called designation numbers. The kind of numbers that Elliot and his team decided on, and they were assigned to each level of the layout. Each of the 3 sections have 9 6-volt transformers mounted onto the boards. All of them were DC powered. A relay system powers the passings and sidings so Elliot can run as many as 5 or 6 trains around the same loops of track. 3 trains go in one direction and 2 trains go in the other direction. Usually for Line L track, the relay system requires the outside rails to be insulated. However, since Entertainment had used Gargrave's track for their layout, the outside rails are already insulated. So rather than using blocks, they added fiber pins to each end of the track sections. Let's take the 200 level for example. This is a 125-foot loop and it had 2 passings. One at the passenger station and the other is hidden behind the farm. 2 trains were running in the opposite direction on the same loop. Switch A diverts the Milwaukee Road Express to stop at the station. It energizes the relay at this end of the track by dropping current from the center rail. Then a freight train traveling at the opposite direction comes out of the tunnel, rolling over Switch B. Before it reaches Switch A, it energizes another relay on the other end of the track, activating both switches. Switch A is set in a straight position to allow the freight train to pass by, and Switch B is set to allow the Milwaukee Road passenger train to proceed onto the main line. This kind of procedure applies to other passing loops on a couple of levels. At that time, Elliot was going to compete with Stan Roy to see how many trains that he could run on all 12 loops. He said that he can run up to about 40 trains.
If all goes as planned, we should be running 40 trains, so Stan Roy, watch out.
Yeah, right. That is not gonna happen. Out of all levels of the layout, the highest level is the most remarkable. Called the Grand Tour by Elliot, these trains traveled all 3 sections of the entire layout. It had 4 sidings and they crossed over 4 bridges. Many bridges span over the aisles where people can get to see the trains crossing above them, which is really cool. Here's this 12-foot long orange plexiglass bridge and the silver illuminated suspension bridge with color-changing lights. Both of these bridges were the highlights of the Entertainment layout. Speaking of which, all the lighting, including the light fixtures above the ceiling, were controlled by a computer. In order to have the trains to run continually every day, the AC motors have to be replaced by CAN motors. CAN motors were used in Lionel's cheaper items. They allow both the trains and accessories to run all day without any trouble. When Elliot and his crew first started operating their layout, AC had screwed up everything, and it was a stressful nightmare. The problem from the use of AC current is the worn-out armatures from the motors. Want to know what an armature looks like? It's this one right here. This is an armature of a Lionel motor after 1 week of operation. This clip will speak for itself, and it'll explain why.
The first problem is that the commutator has a path worn in it so badly that we've got a spot that's entirely bare. I think you can see right here that there's a spot on the shaft where it goes through the bearing plate that the shaft has been reduced in size. The gears are getting pretty badly worn. And lastly, the field windings here, the windings on the armature are totally burnt.
Once again, looks like AC loses to not only DC, but to the CAN motors in the toy train electric current war. Because CAN motors don't have armatures, and they're more reliable to last much longer in operation. But before they can get the CAN motors to work, there needs to be some tinkering done. Gears have to be replaced with fresh new ones, motors need to be checked, and the trains themselves needed to operate in a forward position. When you leave the E-units inside the engines, they tend to forget on which direction that they're going. To make sure that all the engines go forward all the time, hard wiring has to be done, and all the E-units were removed. This helps make Elliot operate all the trains going forward from a control system every time he opens up EnterTRAINment every day. EnterTRAINment, much like most train layout exhibits, has interactive buttons to operate the accessories so visitors can press them, including a button for the mining train, which is the only train that doesn't need to be operated by a transformer nor relay. Visitors can operate the train by simply pressing the button to make it go around the loop at one time. But unlike most train layout exhibits, the accessories aren't reloaded. Neither Elliot nor anyone else bothered to glue some of the ice cubes to the icing station, nor glue some of the milk cans to the operating milk car. Boy, EnterTRAINment must be pretty lenient on some of the exhibit rules, aren't they? People, and especially kids, gotta be careful on how they operate the accessories. Also, the layout has phones so visitors can call each other about some of the highlights of EnterTRAINment. Because of how big the layout is, we shouldn't underestimate its sheer size. The buildings and kits were made by Buildings Unlimited, and those houses up above the mountain on the wall were houses that only St. Paul residents would know of. Elliot drove around the neighborhood to take some pictures of these classy Victorian houses in the Twin Cities area. He cut out the pictures of the houses, picked out the ones he wanted, then he resized them to make it look scaled to O gauge, and he glued them onto plexiglass. So that's another reason why he never put up plexiglass around the layout, huh? Windows were cut out from the houses to give illumination, with impressive results. Elliot's only wish for his EnterTRAINment exhibit is to make it admission-free, so he can spread the message to everybody on why toy trains were a special tradition and a staple of American culture. Plus, since Elliot was a 60s kid, he grew up around the time where Lionel was on the decline, kinda like how the railroads were. When he's a kid, he was hooked on Lionel, despite being a little late of his time. He had owned Lionel trains when he was a kid, and was a huge longtime Lionel fan. And as an adult, he was happy that he's able to design a layout that'll make people smile, and make everybody want to get into the toy train hobby. What's more is that the toy train hobby was a safe haven for Elliot, away from the wild debauched things like parties, sex, or drugs. Although Elliot was the odd one out in high school, he doesn't care. He enjoys spending time with his trains in the basement. One of Elliot's favorite parts about building the layout is building around the walls and tables, building a peninsula in the middle of the room, and creating the little cutout illuminated houses up above the mountain. The layout peninsula sure helps expand the layout and makes it look so impressive and unique. A separate table from the rest of the layout up on the walls, but it helped fill in a huge gap of the 2,000 square foot room. It helps create a miniature model railroad world that people were immersed in, surrounded by the trains. That's part of the magic about EnterTRAINment. You feel like you're actually there, like the island of Sodor. The entire layout had been taken care of under maintenance. Whenever the trains squeak, they need a little oiling. Whenever their motors were broken, they need to be fixed. Elliot often goes by the motto of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Whenever something seems like it's broken, but it actually wasn't. However, when it's really broken, or whenever there's something wrong with the layout, then it really needs to be fixed right away. And there you have it. That's the EnterTRAINment at Mall of America. And at its time back then, this place was a great stop for visitors to check out the train exhibit. This large model railroad is extraordinary. The landscape and scenery look spot on. The bridges crossing over sections of the layout look fantastic, especially when you get to see the trains running above you. And the size of the layout makes you feel like you're there. The trains running around the track, stopping and starting at turnouts, it was a joy to watch. This entertainment had drawn over 10,000 visitors per day, generating a lot of wonder from entering the building and walking around the layout display. Again, it makes them feel like that they're actually there in a model railroad world. With that being said, Entertainment at the Mall of America looks really cool and amazing. Despite the lack of the plexiglass windows and unreloadable accessories, it's still an excellent stop for people who love trains. Unfortunately, this place was gone by the turn of the millennium, presumably replaced by like another restaurant or store. However, there is another entertainment out in Cincinnati, Ohio called Entrainment Junction. Much like the one at Mall of America, it is also an extraordinary and amazing place to go to. The place had looked even better than it ever was before. The train layouts in different scales looked more amazing than the O-gauge layout at Mall of America's Entrainment. They include the world's largest indoor G-scale layout, the biggest one they had ever built. This entertainment also had more things going on there than just large train layouts. It was also an entertainment center for both kids and families to enjoy. They held birthday parties there at the station room. They can go through a spinning tunnel, play in an indoor play area, and visit a Thomas exhibit with a Bachmann H.O. Thomas layout on display. It sure is a fun place to go to. Even though I don't live around the Cincinnati area of Ohio, I would love to come out and visit there someday. But then, unfortunately, after 16 years of operation, Entrainment Junction had announced that they're gonna shut down by January of 2025 through liquidation, due to the owner's death, which had already happened right now. When I first heard the news of Entrainment closing down, I am disappointed. It had been a popular attraction in the Cincinnati area for 16 years, and it was very sad to see it go. Cincinnati wouldn't be the same without it, and what's replacing Entrainment Junction was a Hindu church or temple funded by the Cincinnati University. Great. So this entertainment had been shut down at the Mall of America 25 years ago, then later it was brought back to life by becoming bigger and better than ever was before in Cincinnati, Ohio. Then 16 years later, it was also shut down. Even though both places are owned by different owners, it does sound quite poetic. Luckily, the good news is that its assets, including the giant layouts, will all be moved down to Chattanooga, Tennessee for a brand new transportation museum under a new name. It hasn't been confirmed on what the new name will actually be, but if I ever want to go to Entrainment, then I might visit Chattanooga, Tennessee instead, along with the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum that I might stop by sometime. Anyway, Entrainment at Mall of America is a cool place. In fact, I don't think many people had ever heard or seen a model train exhibit in a mall before. That is why it's something new and unusual to them. I don't think we'll ever see another model railroad layout in another mall again, if ever. So this probably might be the only time we had seen it. And so that covers the entire Great Toy Train Layouts of America series. After I'd been writing many scripts by talking so much about them, I already felt mentally burnt out. This is without a doubt one of the most challenging projects I had ever undertook. I'm sorry if the last 3 videos took so long for me to get them done. I had been busy with the holidays lately, and sometimes I had been procrastinating a little to try and get them done because of my sleep. I haven't got to finish them by the end of the year before 2025 starts, so I figured that I have to put them off for the end of January until I am actually finished with them. After I've been covering the whole video series with a great deal of pressure, I felt like I had learned something. Maybe next time, if I'm gonna be writing on scripts for bigger TM video series for TMcember, like this one or Toy Train Review, then I ought to plan it for at least 5 or 6 months in advance. So I'll be able to take my time on writing these scripts and coming up with ways to put some of these videos into my own words to share my thoughts and opinions on them. That way, I won't have to delay this series again by having to finish up one video and then another, and then have them be uploaded a little late in January instead of December. because that would be totally stressful. So for me, I think that is a lesson that had been learned. This is the first TMcember I had ever done where I get to cover educational videos for older audiences, like videos geared to toy train and hobby model railroad enthusiasts rather than kids and families like the I Love Toy Train series or All About John Deere, the latter which I'll be covering someday. So, if there are any last words that I wanted to say about great toy train layouts before ending this video off on a better note, I would like to say is, Great Toy Train Layouts of America is one of TM's flagship video series, and they're very important to people who are involved with the hobby. This video series was a stepping stone for TM's toy train video career. While we do get to enjoy seeing both the trains and accessories operate on various layouts, we also get to learn from them. Those videos help educate us into becoming a model railroader or toy train enthusiast by giving us insight and learning every aspect about them. I'm personally grateful that I get to watch this video series 10 years ago when I watched it on DVD, because those videos were enjoyable and they made me learn a thing or two about toy trains. They helped me a lot. They help a lot of people get into the toy train or model railroading hobby too, and that's what the videos are made for. I wouldn't have knew anything about what toy trains nor train layouts were if it weren't for these videos. All 6 spectacular videos had awesome train layouts and amazing model craftsmanship. Seeing all the trains and accessories operate together was truly a joy. This is my own personal entertainment to watch, and so was everyone else's who loved toy trains or model trains in general. And of course, this TMcember series is dedicated to Tom McComas. Tom, if you're reading this up in heaven, I just wanted to say, thank you for everything. Thank you for all the joy and fun memories you had brought us with toy trains, by using your exceptional talent and creativity to make these marvelous videos from our childhoods. They meant so much to us, and we owe you one, and we're feeling blessed about it. You're the reason why we got into real and toy trains outside of Thomas. Britt Allcroft was to Thomas, while Tom McComas was to I Love Toy Trains, and so on. And just like Britt, you played an integral role in my life. Whenever life had been going tough for me, or that whenever I get upset, I always put on a TM train video to help me calm down. We'll never forget the memories we had on watching your wonderful videos, and they'll always hold a special place in our hearts. And I would never have a passion for trains, nor an affinity for steam locomotives if it weren't for you and your videos. That's why many of us were forever grateful for how these videos shaped up our lives. Rest easy, Tom, and rest easy to Britt too. Until then, full speed ahead. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna continue my New Year's resolution with 4 things on my agenda. Save up my money to buy more Bachmann Thomas trains, focus on my YouTube channel a little more, keep looking for another job, and keep losing weight. See y'all in the next TMcember. Until then, this is the Caledonian Sleeper, signing out.